Overview. The palliative approach aims to provide care, comfort and support to clients who are approaching the end of their life, so they can live as comfortably and actively as possible until their death. The palliative approach also provides support for their families, including any family members who are the main carers for the client. We can always try to relieve pain, but we cannot always cure the illness. A palliative approach to end-of-life care does not shorten life or lengthen it. A palliative approach aims to meet the person's physical, psychological, social and spiritual needs, to reduce their suffering and to support their choices and goals as they approach the end of their life. This is called holistic care. That means it is centred on the person and aims to meet all of that person's needs. End-of-life care starts when a person is diagnosed with a life-limiting illness. End-of-life care can control the person's pain and other symptoms of the illness. Often, people can live with such an illness for many years. So end-of-life care is not just for the last few hours or days of a client's life. The earlier that end-of-life care is started, the more choices there are for clients and families. Sometimes, when a client is nearing the end of their life, they work out an advance care plan in discussions with their doctor and family and friends. An advance care plan ensures that the client's wishes about care are respected and followed. This can include things such as the sort of pain relief or medical care they do or do not want. End-of-life care is provided by everyone who is involved in caring for a client approaching the end of their life.
How's that?
A team of people provide physical, psychological, social and spiritual care for the client. The team might include their carer, their doctor, the community nurse, and sometimes the palliative care team. A vitally important member of the end-of-life care team is you. As a support worker in community care or a personal care assistant in residential care, you see the client on a regular basis, so you are the eyes and ears of the team. So when a client tells you something about their care, or when you notice a change in a client, you report this to your supervisor. Your supervisor will then contact the relevant member of the end-of-life care team. Your supervisor will know which member of the care team is the best person to address the needs or concerns of the client. End-of-life care is all about meeting each person's individual needs to try and make the end of their life as painless as possible in every way. Although dying is a normal part of life, providing end-of-life care can be stressful, but also rewarding. When a client is receiving end-of-life care, there are some possible problems that you need to be aware of. You will look at your own feelings about death, a subject we rarely talk about, although it will happen to us all. You will need to develop your communication skills so you can observe, listen and talk with the client and their family about difficult things. You will need to know what is normal and what is not normal behaviour for your client. For example, when you see that they find it harder to move, or if you see they are struggling with their pain and pain management, or they are becoming upset or angry or depressed, think about how you would like to be treated. Respect each client's individuality. Use their name, the one they like to be called. Know their likes and dislikes. Allow clients to do things for themselves for as long as possible, even if sometimes they are slow or clumsy. Develop empathy. This means you can recognise and accept your client's feelings, their physical and emotional pain, and fear of death. Always help the client keep their dignity, particularly when you perform personal care tasks. Be aware of the limits of your job and the boundaries. You are the support worker or personal care assistant, not family, friend or carer. Don't judge people. Different people make choices about their care and death in different ways. It is their life and death, and they have the right to do things their way. Increase your cultural understanding. Different cultures and belief systems have different ways of looking at and dealing with death. Learn how loss and grief affect people in many different ways, before dying and after death. And always look after yourself. The quality of your life is important too. You want to live your life as well as possible. These skills and knowledge will help you grow as a person and give you the confidence to provide the best possible end-of-life care to your client. You will be able to support them, their carers, and their family. You can't change the client's situation, but you can give them the best care possible.
Abide by what the client wants. It's their right as an autonomous human being to decide how they would like to spend the end of their life. And that doesn't necessarily mean the dying phase. It could be the whole end of their years phase. So it could be a long-term plan that goes on for years, but they still have in place how they would like to spend their life in that stage.
It isn't about just coming in and handing out medication and changing people into their night wear or into their day wear or taking them to the bathroom, giving them showers. It's about that personal experience between you and this person.
Everybody has a role to play, and it is actually a team. We have the case managers who organise it. There's people from palliative care that come in. As a support worker, I'm probably a person that's there more often and spend more time with the client. But I couldn't do it, and I couldn't do it for the client if it wasn't for all the backup that was there.
The support workers are really at the coalface. They are the ones who, as you say, the eyes and ears. So they're the ones that feed everything back. And without them, we don't have a service, and we wouldn't have a quality service.
How the support workers should behave? Well, I think they have to be quite normal, actually. Friendly, optimistic, helpful, sympathetic at the right time.
Client choices. It is every client's right to make their own choices about their end-of-life care and death. It is every person's right to die with dignity. One of the main losses that clients feel as they approach the end of life is the loss of control over their life, a feeling of being powerless. So being able to make choices, both big and small, is very important to a client's well-being. This includes choices such as where they want to die, medical choices. Does the client want or not want tube feeding or resuscitation? They may want to change their choices as time passes. For example, they might decide that now they do want to use morphine for pain. A client can also choose who they do or do not want to see. Clients may also have goals such as visiting a place they have always wanted to see. Or it might be small things. That is their choice. If a client has expressed a clear wish about something they want to do, then the support worker can tell the family, informally, and also the supervisor, formally. Sometimes family members are surprised by client choices. I didn't know they wanted to do that. Sometimes family members do not support those choices. It's too hard. You're too sick. Sometimes you might find a client's choice upsetting. For example, if their advanced care plan states they do not wish to receive food or liquid, or it says, do not resuscitate. But it is their choice, and as a support worker, you must follow the client's care plan and respect and support the client's choices.
I think everyone has a choice for when it comes like what they want done, yeah. It's their journey. We're along for some of it. But if that's what they want, go for it. Go for it. Oh, that's fine.
Physical needs. Managing a client's pain is one of the key goals of the palliative approach to end-of-life care. We want the client to be as comfortable and pain-free as possible. So it is important that you observe and report any physical changes in a client. If you see they are experiencing more pain, getting more tired, they are losing weight, are more breathless, or are becoming more withdrawn or depressed, report this to your supervisor. Your supervisor will communicate with the client's medical carers. They will make adjustments to the medical care or the pain management of the client.
Physically, there's a lot of things I can't do. And they exhaust me. I don't last a day. I'm good in the morning. First thing in the morning, I'm up and going. But by about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I've usually had the goal. I'm not fit for anything. I'm doing very well today.
Psychological needs. Dying is a natural part of life. Most people have a fear of dying. It is hard to imagine not being part of this world, of the world going on without us. A client may fear that they will have to depend on others, their family, healthcare workers and support workers. They may fear that they will become a burden to their family and friends. They may feel humiliated by their body letting them down. They may feel embarrassed because other people have to perform personal care tasks for them. They might feel anger, guilt, depression or grief. Their family might have these emotions too. Talking about your own funeral, writing a will, choosing a medical attorney, someone who will carry out your medical wishes, can be upsetting. You are facing the reality of your own death. Often the best thing you can do for a client is just to listen to them. Listen to them talk about their fears and concerns. They may ask questions such as, "When am I going to die?" You could answer this by saying, "I don't know, but would you like to speak to your doctor about this?" Provide support to your client by truly listening to them and let them know that you understand and accept how they feel. Sometimes there are no words. A smile or a gentle touch can show care and give comfort. Social needs. We all live differently and we all die differently. Some people want to see their family and friends a lot so they can talk about their fears, worries and wishes. Some people do not want too many visitors because they find it emotionally and physically tiring. Other clients may wish their friends and family did visit more often. Sometimes people are afraid of dying and do not want to see the dying person. Some may say that they prefer to be completely alone. Some clients do not want to see certain family members. Other clients want to make peace with family members or friends they have disagreed with in the past. Because they don't wish to upset their family, often a client will tell a support worker who they want to see and not see. If a client does tell you these things, then report it to your supervisor, who will make arrangements so that the client's wishes are met.
Well, I've got to be careful, as you can imagine, that I don't yap too much, because there are some things to be done. But I love a company, and that's the best thing, I think, to be quite honest. To be.
Spiritual needs. Most of us have some sort of spiritual belief that gives meaning to our lives. A spiritual life is not just when a person goes to church or belongs to a religion. It can take many different forms. And some people have no spiritual belief at all. No matter what your client's spiritual beliefs or non-beliefs are, you must respect them, just as you would like other people to respect what you believe. As people approach death, they often find a new spiritual belief, or their existing belief gets stronger. They may talk to you about their concerns about death and what happens after death. If a client talks to you about those things, listen to what the client says, but don't give your own opinion. Ask the client if they would like a spiritual advisor, such as a priest or chaplain, to come and see them. If they do, then tell your supervisor about the conversation, and the supervisor will arrange for this to happen.
They may want a room full of people. They may not want a room full of people. They may want someone with them all the time. They may want certain music on. They may want incense burning. They may want no medication. They may want everything. So just be open. Talk to that individual if that's the appropriate thing in your situation. Talk to the family, and always come and talk to the case manager.
Communication with the client. Good communication means better end-of-life care. One of the main ways to support a client in end-of-life care is by talking and listening to your client and their family. When you talk and listen with a client, be open and honest. Be respectful. Don't judge, don't give your opinion, and do not give advice. If a client talks about their feelings of loss and grief as they near the end of their life, listen to them and acknowledge them. Most people in end-of-life care just want to be treated as normally as possible. Some people do not want to talk about dying. Some people do. But they also want to talk about food or sport or their new grandchild, things which connect us to life. Avoid cliches and lies. If a client says, "I'm not getting any better," don't say, "Of course you are." A better answer is something like this. How does it feel to you? Do you notice any changes in how you're feeling? Clients often talk more openly to support workers than their friends or family because they want to protect the feelings of their family members. Often people at end of life no longer feel they have to be so careful or polite and will speak frankly and openly.
I'm going to tell you something that I've never told anyone before.
When the client knows that you really listen to them and that you also respect their privacy, they will trust you. If they tell you something that is private, but it does not affect their care, listen to them, then forget it. When a client cannot speak or has difficulty understanding or remembering things, observe them carefully for signs of pain or distress. A gentle squeeze of the hand or a reassuring touch can tell the client you are there for them. Sometimes the client will ask difficult questions such as, "When am I going to die? What will it be like? Will I have pain?" You cannot answer those questions, so you could say something like this. "It is hard to know those things. Would you like to speak to someone about this?" Then report this to your supervisor, who will arrange this for the client.
If they know them well enough, they can possibly turn around and be a little bit like, well, you know, we're all going to die one day, but you have to be appropriate with what you say. You can be lighthearted about it, but you can also have it as an open door for a serious conversation and say, "Well, how do you feel about that? Do you want to talk about it?"
His health was pretty bad, and when his wife wasn't around, he said, like, if he gets any worse with his mobility, he'd love to cut his own throat. But he doesn't want to say that to his wife, and he doesn't want to talk to her with her because she'd get upset because she wants him to live. But he just doesn't want to not be mobile, you know what I mean? And he said he'd rather die. I found that a little bit confronting. I just said I understood, but you know, I said, look, it also depends on how much mobility you lose. Because I said you can still be quite, you know, good. I said, you know, even if you're in a wheelchair, things, of course, it's hard, but you know, you still have your wife. You can still talk with her, and you can still have a pretty good life.
Communication with the family. Family can include relatives, friends, and carers. Every person reacts in their own way to the suffering and death of a family member. Sometimes there is grief, sometimes anger, possibly relief at the end of pain. Often a client or the family cannot talk about death and dying because it is too uncomfortable for them. This can affect the communication between a dying person and family members, making it a bit empty and false. Honest and open communication allows people to talk about things that matter to them, and this can bring people closer together. Sometimes, family members disagree with the client's decisions about their end-of-life care. Sometimes they disagree with each other about the end-of-life care. Never get involved trying to sort out family conflict. If you observe conflict, report this to your supervisor. They can organise a family meeting with a case manager to try and resolve the problem. Some family members might demand to know why you are doing or not doing certain things for the client. Some may feel they are not doing enough to help. Sometimes they may try to be helpful when it actually doesn't help the client. There may be long-standing family conflicts that have not been resolved. A client wants to see her ex-husband, but knows this will upset her children. A client does not want to see a sister-in-law who has always upset her. A client does wish to see his estranged brother or friend. Reassure the client that what they want is important and let them know that you will report the situation to your supervisor. Sometimes you will see that family members are not coping. Tell your supervisor about this and they can arrange support, such as information or counselling, to help the family. Open, honest and clear communication can provide emotional support to family members as well as clients.
We liaise really closely with the families as well. That's really important, to have a good relationship with the family members, because if you don't, it's no good at all.
I find that the biggest problem is when there are problems between family members and they have a loved one here, whether it be a mother, father, an auntie or an uncle, and they have pre-existing problems, brothers and sisters that aren't talking, or there could be monetary problems, those sort of things.
Everyone's different. People react differently to when family members are in pain or dying. They go into denial, or they might just say, look, it's not happening, we don't want to know. So you've just got to be there, whatever the outcome.
Communication with your supervisor. Your communication is vitally important to the whole team that provides end-of-life care to the client. Remember, because you are often with the client, you are the eyes and ears of the care team. So what the client tells you can be important to their care. If a client tells you about their concerns or they have questions, ask the client's permission to speak to your supervisor about those things. You need to be able to communicate clearly and accurately to your supervisor about changes you see in the client, so the supervisor can pass accurate information on to other members of the client's care team. When you report to your supervisor, be brief and tell them what happened, what you saw or heard. Do not add your own opinions, just state the facts. And do the same when you write things down. Be brief and be factual. Write what happened, when it happened, and who was there.
And that's where support workers are so vital in telling the case manager immediately what's going on, so immediate action can be taken, especially in this palliative stage, because you want everything to fall into line.
I do a round every morning to see that everyone's sort of here and that they're okay, but there's a lot of little incidental things that can happen at any time that they need to report, so they are the eyes and ears.
We notice things that maybe the nursing staff don't notice because they speak to us in a different manner. They tell us things that they won't tell the nursing staff. They just let on, oh yeah, I didn't tell them, but my legs have really been hurting lately.
If you ever need any help, ask, because we're always learning. There's always something new. Things happen, things change. The client can change.
Cultural differences. In Australia, there are many different cultures and many different belief systems. But when a person dies, the purpose of every culture's practices is the same: to show respect for the dead and to comfort the living. Always respect the culture and behaviour of clients and family when they are preparing for death and after death, just as you want your beliefs and customs to be respected. Different cultures express loss and grief differently. Funeral ceremonies and memorial services can help people cope with grief and loss.
Well, I'm Chandra, I'm a Hindu, and Hindus look at death as a natural event, just like a birth. So when a child is born, we celebrate it. When someone passes away, we celebrate that too. We say, look, this person has lived a good life, so when they die of a natural death, we actually have a wedding funeral. people dress up, they wear colourful clothes. They don't really show a lot of grief. Yes, the family is a little bit sad, maybe the children, but the rest of them actually get together to talk about that person, the life, and actually have it more as a party atmosphere. Cremation is part of what we do. I'm not sure whether we talk about death in every other way, but when the death occurs, the whole clan gathers in the houses, and they will have all-night vigils. They light a lamp and they keep that lamp going for 30 days. And then there's a ceremony where it's within my clan. There is a rope attached to that person's photo. They literally cut the rope to release the soul back to the universe. So it is a physical event where the family sees that person, and they do that on the 30th day. And then on that day, they take the ashes after the cremation, take it to a running water or by the beach and let it into the sea, so that it is not sort of staying on the ground and rotting, but becomes part of the food chain in the sea.
In Poland, is lots of pressure here and practice for people to be buried rather than cremated. When you go to the cemetery, is cemetery paradise. On the 1st of November, we've got the special day, Remembrance Day, for the people who pass away. So the cemetery is like a sparkly, every grave has the lights and sparkly, territory, and people just travel miles, to visit the parents or relatives' graves, and is this more or less the meeting place.
I'm just thinking about a particular Vietnamese situation. They believe that the body needs to have somebody around so that the spirit doesn't get lost when it leaves the body. So they always make sure that when someone's at the end of life, that they always have candles, they always have a particular type of gentle music, so the spirit's happy when it leaves, and that there's always somebody around.
Advanced care plans and directives. Every client has a care plan that covers the sort of tasks that you will do for the client. Things like shopping, cooking, or personal care. An advanced care plan is when a client talks with their doctor and family and works out the sort of care they want to receive as they approach the end of their life. It gives the client the chance to get information, to think about that information, and then make their own choices about the sort of care they want to receive.
To me, it's the basis of all end-of-life care. Okay, now to a lot of people that means just clinical, as in the big do not resuscitate, but really it can be everything involved in social and lifestyle planning, to the point of who would you like to be involved in your care. Would you like to be the neighbours, for example, anything like that, to right down to the finer details of would you like antibiotics, what kind of care would you like, who would you like that, and where would you like that. It's a kind of holistic view of their life. It's not a clinical view. It's a whole view of the person.
I think you prepare for weddings and funerals and christenings and special things in your life. And I think you prepare for dying as well, dying in peace, I think that's, and then as I said again, you can keep on living and keep on enjoying your life as long as you can.
An advanced care directive, which is sometimes called a living will, puts the client's choices into writing. It is a legal document and lists the sort of care the client does and does not want, and also the quality of life that is important to them. It gives specific instructions to the care team about the client's wishes. For example, the use of life support.
I don't want to be resuscitated. I don't want to have a stroke. I don't want to be dragging a leg around. I don't want to not be able to walk down the street. I don't want to be not mobile. I don't want to be able to not speak. I don't want to be fed. I don't want to have a peg in my stomach. I don't want any of that.
A client writes an advance care directive when they are still capable of making decisions about their care. The advance care directive names a person as a medical power of attorney. This is the person the client wants to make sure their choices are followed when they are no longer able to communicate or make decisions themselves. A client can choose to change their advanced care plan or advanced care directive whenever they wish. If they tell you that they want to change part of their advanced care plan or advanced care directive, you need to tell your supervisor. Your supervisor will then organise for the client's wishes to be met. In your work, you must always follow the client's advanced care plan or advanced care directive, even if you do not agree with their choices. If a client does not have an advanced care plan or an advanced care directive, they must be consulted and give their consent every time a decision is made about their care.
As far as a carer goes, they need to know that everything that's written down here can be changed at any time.
We definitely have to support them. I do agree with it. We all have choices in life. That is their choice. And if you don't want to be resuscitated, that's fully up to you. And all we can do is help them move on through that to whatever the next stage be.
Looking after yourself. You always look after a client's needs and are responsive to their family's needs. But what about your needs? What can you do to help you cope better with the stress of working for a client who is dying? Your experiences at work might make you look at your own attitudes and beliefs about death. This can sometimes be painful, but it can also allow us to accept that death is a normal part of living. Maybe you have never experienced the death of a loved one. Maybe you are afraid of death. Maybe you are still grieving the loss of someone you loved. Maybe you are grieving for a client who has just died. Perhaps a number of clients have died recently and your thoughts and feelings about those deaths are depressing you. You need to find ways to deal with the stress and loss of working with people who are dying. You can talk with your partner or colleagues or friends about how you are feeling. Or you can ask for counselling. Find healthy ways to relax that suit you. Look after yourself as well as you look after your clients.
It's all right to have emotions. Like, you're going to go through highs and lows and rigmarole with whatever. If you've got trouble, see your case manager, and don't be afraid to ask for help. That's basically it, because we don't have all the answers.
We're asked to talk, that's offered if we can go to the office and talk specifically to counsellors of how we felt and whether it was a shock and what's it like, how we feel inside and whether we still think about it. I have to admit it wasn't a shock to me. I've talked to other workers about their experiences and how they felt, and that was encouraged that we do talk about it.
I think you learn to deal with work, and you got your own life at home, and then you got work. So if you mix it all together, it just can't happen. So it's good to deal with it separately.
It's a stressful job. It can be a very stressful job looking after someone at the end of life. It can be emotionally draining. It can be physically draining. So in order to look after yourself, you need to take time out, you need to have your breaks, you need to look after yourself mentally and physically, because we need support workers. Our support workers are our absolute foundation, so we need to make sure that they're cared for in order for us clients to be cared for.